welcome to Lokahi Backstage. I am your host, Ann Blakeman. Here, we go beyond the highlight reel and bring you stories from real people, those who have faced ups and downs, challenges and breakthroughs. Through their stories, my hope is that you'll be inspired to embrace your journey, find the rainbows in the storm, and always remember, your uniqueness is your magic. Hey, como mai, welcome. Today's guest is someone who has powerfully helped shape communities across Arizona through vision, values, and a deep sense of purpose. Walter Crutchfield is a fourth-generation Arizonian and partner at Vintage Partners, a development firm known for taking on hard projects, those that require not just experience, but heart and integrity. Over the years, he's led everything from automotive startups as a teenager to large-scale master-planned communities like Timber Sky in Flagstaff, where he helped deliver Habitat for Humanity homes through private development. His projects blend creativity with complexity and always serve a bigger picture. But behind the business is a story of reinvention. He's lived through loss, rebuilt from scratch, and remained deeply rooted in his belief that business can be a blessing. He's a husband, a father, a soon-to-be grandfather of 13, and someone who leads with humility, conviction, and the kind of wisdom that can only come from living it. If you've ever wondered what it looks like to start over with purpose, or how faith and grit can rebuild a life, this one's for you. Let's dive in. Today, I'd like to welcome Walter Crutchfield to the Lokahi Backstage podcast. Thanks so much for deciding to be part of this. So you are actually the last episode. I don't know if it's going to air as the last episode, but you are the last episode we are recording. So, woo, you're number 10.
Best for last.
Best for last. So I just wanted to give a little background on how I know you. So actually, a lot of folks I've interviewed I've known a long time. For you and I, we've actually known each other for about a year. Mm-hmm. And we worked on one project together. So I might have a lot longer. But along the way, I felt we've gotten to work really hand in hand and a lot of conversations about not just the project, but just like life curiosity and who you are, what you do, what I do. And so really felt I've gotten to get to know you, and I thought you'd be a really interesting podcast guest. And even in prepping for this podcast, I learned a whole lot about you too. So I'm super excited for today's show. So thank you for being
excited to be here. Honored to be here. It's been cool to learn about Lokahi, to do what we do and not ever have known there was this amazing traffic engineering firm out there with an amazing founder, and then work closely with you, solving problems. Because it's not just geometry. No. It's not just engineering. I mean, we build community. And when you find people who own community and love what you love, like those are ride or die people. It's hard to find that. So I'm honored that I did, and I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, I couldn't say more things too, like about how fun it's been to work with you. I mean, there's some folks we work with that just don't develop, and it's okay. We have a ton of projects, and they're for various reasons, right? The more simpler ones don't create as much of a relationship because they're kind of easy. But then this one is a little bit more complex, but it creates that relationship too. And I can see that. I don't know. Hopefully, there's a project number 2. But either which way, at least I have a new friend.
And 3, 4, and 5. No, I already have some.
Okay,
really
or at least I have a lunch date.
I have some really difficult projects coming up, and I mean really difficult. And I always think like 5 years in advance, which is hard when you're 64. But thinking in advance of all the things we're gonna have to solve. And really seeing development as the opportunity to solve problems.
It is.
And the opportunity to deliver. And even at the project we worked on, it's affordable housing, it's mixed use, it has a new freeway off-ramp.
Yes.
It has a 4-way stop in the middle of Farmtopia. Yes. And those people sit there for an hour at rush hour. So to be able to come in and go, we got to solve this.
Yeah.
Not who's going to pay for it. So it's awesome to work with somebody who's motivated the same way. And I'm proud of the work that we do. I don't ever apologize and just go, yeah, I know it's Dollar General, sorry. It's never that.
No.
If we're going to build a Dollar General, it's going to be the best one that's ever built. So,
oh, this is definitely a great project, and it's a great location, and it's a blend of so many great things. So I am always so proud of the projects that I get to be part of. I feel it shapes our communities, and it speaks to that neighborhood or that community.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk a little bit about you. So let's dig back into time. You shared that growing up, you were always driven. And I do find that there's a lot in us. And as I've become like an entrepreneur, I've also learned like it's the traits that kind of were always embedded in you that start to surface.
Yeah.
But you also shared that that was a time when your drive got tangled up with some of the wrong things.
Yeah.
So take me back to some of those years in high school.
Yeah, so I think if you had to come up with just encapsulate my life, it would be a story of failure and redemption. Because when you go hard, especially if you're going hard the wrong direction, you can get in trouble really fast.
Yeah.
And so I had a great family, great neighborhood. I mean, awesome growing up. Doors never locked. Kids are always over. There's dozens of kids, and there's either a basketball game, football game, this thing, that thing. And some trouble. Well, as you start to move down those roads and get into drugs and get into other things and you're going fast, my life just lacked focus and lacked purpose, except for the purpose of doing what I wanted to do, which never serves. It doesn't really matter where you're coming from. If the direction of your life is everything I want, right, it's going to end up in a bad spot. And that was true of my high school years, where it started to trend in a most likely to get arrested. That would have been my award in high school. So that really, there's a whole number of turning points in my life, but that's where it started to turn. It was that, and I started to date the girl down the street that's now been my wife for 45 years. We've known each other since first grade.
Wow.
And we started to date in maybe sophomore year of high school. And I honestly think in many ways it kept me from really serious trouble, like just the stability of who she was and her family. And I couldn't go out with her every night. It was once a week. By 9 o'clock, she had to be home. So it started to bring some structure into my life and start to head me in a better direction.
So I can kind of relate to that story. I think I didn't dabble too far into things because I was still scared and conservative. So, but my mom always said that I was very strong-willed from the time I was born. And she says you can either use it for good or for bad. So you're either going to be very successful or you're going to end up in jail. Because you're going to be really good at whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
Like it sounds terrible, but you're someone that's just going to run, and you're going to run hard, and you're going to run, and it could be this way or it could be this way. And you're not just going to do casually. You're going to go hard.
Yeah. So. Well, I actually, the second part of that, you're either going to hear or you're going to go to jail. I actually was arrested for assaulting a police officer. And never charged, but went through a whole lot. And it was really a moment of, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This isn't going anywhere good, which forced me to go back to that entrepreneurial part that I had and start thinking about the world of building something. And that was really the beginning of it.
I love it. Okay, so I know this part. Can you cover some of this? But my next question says you were running a business as a teenager, right? Featured in Autoweek. So this is some of the things that you please expand on. buying, selling cars. On paper, it looked like success, but behind the scenes, something was missing, right? What happened during this season? So tell us about even running the business, teenager type thing, because that's interesting in and of itself. You weren't just like delivering newspapers.
No, well, I did deliver newspapers,
Oh, okay.
so I want to say that I did do that. I probably didn't do it very
But how
well.
did we end up on Autoweek?
Because for me, I grew up around cars, love for cars, and my dad had a number of friends that were kind of around that business. And so we started buying Volkswagen convertibles in other parts of the country and then sending them out to the coast in LA. And just by moving them, you were going to make a couple $1,000s on them. So it was doing that, and then got involved with automotive design and production, i.e., how do you take a stock standard vehicle and make it do something better? So better performance, better mileage, better whatever. And so we started with a project, and that took me to California because that's really where all the talent was. And that project morphed into convertible conversions, where we would take standard automobiles and convert them to convertibles because the convertibles weren't being made. There was a period of time in American manufacturing where they stopped making them because of liability. Mm-hmm. And so there was an aftermarket demand for those kinds of vehicles. And so we started doing, which led me to start a company called Solaire. And that was first a convertible conversion of a Honda Prelude. And then it was the first 911 convertible. And we did a high mileage vehicle for Subaru and this. And the Honda ended up on the cover of Autoweek. And so I was 19 and this was my company and my car was on the cover of Autoweek. So it seemed like, hey, this is going in the great direction. It only gets better from here.
Sure.
And yet the success that was produced left me really empty. And it was almost like you won the race and you're like, that's it? That's all? That's it? And I remember just a desperation of like, what am I going to do now? Uh-huh. I'm 19. I'm not even 20. I'm successful. What's the rest of my life going to be? And it never even was an option to go, well, you can make a lot more, because what I was making didn't satisfy. So it was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Which led me to picking up a New Testament and beginning to read it just on my own. This wasn't it was just reading it. And I was struck by this person, Jesus, and what he had to say and the claims he made on my life and who he was. And I was like, well, all this other stuff doesn't satisfy. I'm going to try this. It was really that. It was really, we'll just take a flyer on this. I mean, how bad could it be?
Sure.
But it was a transforming moment. And it started a direction in my life where business became together with faith, and we kind of went from there.
I get it. Like, so I would say I relate a lot with your story too. Cause, right. Like you're so many things to me when you're young, I watched TV, looked at the world around you and like things like popularity, like being the pretty girl, being popular. I don't know, just chasing like money, right? Whatever you can achieve, being the smartest one in the classroom. Like they set all these bars that you think, okay, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on this. And I think for me, it was a similar time frame too in college. Well, actually, it was right when I exited high school that I had done so I was homecoming queen, right, in high school. So you're like, okay, like check a box on, I guess that's popular, like check done.
I won.
Yeah. And then I came from a pretty well-to-do family. So we were living life, I would say, better than the average or most of our peers, right? Like I was traveling around the world. There wasn't a without. There was always meals and, things were just, we weren't extravagantly rich, but we were wealthy enough that was never of concerns. We weren't ever without. How about that? Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I understand that concept too. And then engineer. So I did okay in school too, right? So in terms of academics, I also felt I had that. And then so that was a moment in time where I thought to myself, like as a high schooler, I've pretty much checked the high school boxes, right? Like, oh, got this, check done, check done, check done. And I was like, God, like, I don't even care. And what does this all even mean? Like, I don't know. Like, so, okay, so you're going to go to college, you're going to get more A's. Okay, like, what does this all mean? Okay, so then you get a job and then you're going to get more money. So, but what does this all mean? You know enough to know, I know enough to know that it's not, even if you had 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, where's that going to get you, right? Like, I don't know. So I really can relate to that moment too.
I think people think, I always say this, the only person that thinks $1 million check is going to make them happy is the person that's never cashed one. Because with that $1 million check comes a whole bunch of other stuff, other responsibilities, other things that you don't even think about. You just think, oh, this is going to be so amazing. The lottery. Well, most lottery winners end up in a disaster. So that didn't work. Jesus said a really interesting thing. What does it profit a man if he gains the world, loses his soul? So all he was saying was, is it bad to gain the world? No, he didn't say that. What he said is, that's the short. The long is your soul. So if you emphasize the short above everything else, like if I get this, check the boxes. Now I have everything. He's like, no, you don't, because your soul matters. And so for me, it's never been the world is evil. Everyone's evil. I live above. And it's not that at all. It's, I love my life. I love what I do. I love building things. I love developing. But there's a soul quotient that you got to speak to. Because that's facing everyone. And it's funny, it's almost hard to say these things because the pressure in the business world is, no, just leave that alone. Don't talk about that. I can't talk about what I do and not talk about that.
I love that.
I don't have any way, I have no way to describe who I am if I can't tell you I'm a redemption project. Like I did this and I failed miserably and God redeemed me out of it. And it isn't just the one, hey, he went to jail and then, was successful. It's a whole lifetime of failure, redemption, which I think is true for most people. They just maybe don't get to the redemption piece.
I think it gives, so for me, it seems like in your same years too, right? Like in the 19-year-old age range was when, and I want to dive deeper into this because you not just had a moment, it became years, became more than just a moment. But I think that that's what drives purpose. And also I think for me, I can say a lot of folks ask how do you do what you do? And yes, certainly working hard. Like you got to get up each day and not just lay in the bed because like that's a will and of it. So I don't think God makes that happen. You
make it happen.
You
God.
make that happen.
No.
So you have to get up and get yourself dressed and march forward and put one step. So I think hard work certainly is what attributes to one level of success. But at the same time, I think that I know for a fact in my life, there are things that I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, for example, this podcast, like no idea what I'm doing, but I do feel that
but you're doing it.
I'm called to do it. Like there is something that tells me that there's a platform, there's a reason, and let me try it. And the worst comes to worst, if all I learned through the experience is what I learned through the experience, and it materializes into nothing beyond that. It was an experience that I felt I was called to walk through. For who knows what doors. And so anyway, but I want to dig into you because your moment wasn't a moment. You actually even stepped into that for years. So let's talk about that.
Well, at the time, so I had, the Damascus Road conversion experience. I was running the businesses. I then decided to sell my business and I was getting married. Thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Was in the process of trying to buy a car dealership. And I had the deal all done. They were working on the contracts. And then I was trying to develop a piece of property. And I had, supposedly, I thought, an option to purchase it. And one day, within just 5 minutes, I get a phone call. They sent the contracts back on the dealership. They sold it to someone else right out from under us. And then I get a call just a few minutes later. I'm sorry, but we didn't know somebody had an option on this piece of property and they've exercised it. So I was like, okay, everything I just worked on after selling my business is for naught. at the time, I had just started to go to a little Bible college, which was funny because my sister was at the University of Chicago getting her PhD, and my brother was at the London School of Economics and New York University and Columbia, just that was my family heritage. And then they were like, what are you doing? Well, I sold my businesses and I'm going to Bible college. So they were, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Like,
what
it was like a
there?
cult thing. So did that, went on to graduate school and spent a number of years in full-time ministry because I thought, well, I'm going to do this. This is the best way to do it. But it never stopped in me a desire for transaction, a desire for creating, a desire for business. I just thought, well, this is higher. I got to go do this. So I did it for a number of years. Marry, bury, care for people, be there at difficult points in their lives, preach, teach, travel all over the world. I did all that. I also recognized there were things in it that I just wasn't good at. And God graciously transitioned me out and back into business. And I ran a software company, and then I ran a sporting goods manufacturing company. Then I managed professional athletes. Then I went back into development because that was what my dad had done since the late 50s. And it was a way for me to work with my dad when we moved back to Arizona.
So much
that's a lot.
That's a lot. So much of your story, Walter, we are like some mirrors of each other. So for me in college, and you're like, I usually don't share so much about myself during this, but I relate so much to the stuff that you're doing. So in that time frame, I started attending not just one church, but 3, because like 3 is better than 1. And like you're like winning, right? Checkbox, I'm winning. I did 3, you do 1. So even the youth groups, I was part of youth groups. I was part of founding a youth group there. Like, we're going to do this. We're going ham.
If I'm in this, we're going.
We're going. And I even at the end of college left and went on a missions trip. So I went to Switzerland. That's where I met my husband. So 6 months, I'm like all in. But into the 12 years, you did 12 years. Yeah. No, I started the family and then realized we need money. And then I don't know. I didn't think the other option might have had that to have food. So mine are like little different, but I feel like there was like moments
but it's the same thing. I think there's an entrepreneurial thing that's driven that wants to be effective, wants to
go
leave
all
a legacy
in.
and push everything into the center of the table. So if it was trouble, I was going hard.
Yes.
If it was the spiritual world, I was going hard.
Going hard.
The problem when you're going hard after everything is you may not find the thing that you're really good at. And it took me a long time to figure out, no, God really made me to do business. I'm kind of unique. A seminary trained real estate developer.
Yeah.
Who was also a sports agent. You're like, those are the most not God professions that you could possibly have. Like a sports agent who's seminary trained. No, a developer and what I find is it just makes me better.
Yep.
And because I'm unique, I have a perspective. If you're on the ministry side, well, everybody's seminary trained. They all did that. That's what they do. Or if you're just on the developer side and you're doing, but if you put those two things together, I have a purpose for why I build community. Mm-hmm. We don't emphasize great community just because we're soft-hearted. We emphasize great community because God says that we're to care. We are to consider the needs of others as more important than our own. We do care for our brother's needs. Are you your brother's keeper? The answer to that question that isn't in the text is yes, you are your brother's keeper. So when we're building stuff, we have to consider all those things. It just makes me better at what I do. And then it makes me excited to go, hey, the task of life is finding out how God made you.
Yes.
Finding out who he is, putting those things together and going as hard as you can for as long as you can.
I couldn't agree more. I would say this is something that through the journey, right? Of course, faith combined with hard work and that whole thing. But I would say only through the Lokahi journey have I seen that come to life for my own journey. So much of it, I kind of marched through the way of the corporate, like would say, be a entry-level engineer, be a junior engineer, now work hard to be the senior. So I worked up that thing, like, right, checkbox. But is jumping out in Lokahi that I'm able to do things that, like you said, that mishmash of who the heck you are created to be, like this creative spaces, right? Like, and the people and how you get to do the engineering, how you get to attack a project. It isn't how my management has told me or the company culture has told me how to attack a project. I just get to do whatever the heck I want. If a client fires me, they fire me. If they keep me on board, they keep me on board. And you get to create like the world you want to create. You don't have to work with X, Y, and Z. You can choose M, P, and L and like just run with it, right?
But how cool is it they don't fire you? Like you do the thing you're good at. You do the God thing that God made you to do. And they don't fire you. It doesn't create some weirdo thing that's like, no, we're looking for a monastery in the middle of our parking lot. We're not doing stuff like that. We're thinking about all the stakeholders. We're considering everybody at the table. We're trying to build beautiful stuff. We're trying to do aesthetic stuff. We're trying to do it on budget, get a return for investors. Yes. All those people are out there and we're trying to serve them all. And I think that's sort of the magic of it when you can marry those things. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of people in the believing community that just slog along in their jobs. They just slog along in their jobs. And then there's a bunch of people in the non-believing community that slog along in their jobs. And I feel like I don't slog at all because God made me. Chariots of Fire, great movie, old movie. And there's a point in there, Eric Liddell, true guy, and he was a sprinter. And his sister was going, would you get done with this sprinting thing? We got to go be missionaries in China, which he eventually did. And he died in China. But his sister said, would you drop this running? Why are you doing this? And he said, God made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. I feel like that's my life.
Yes.
Like God made me to do what I do. Yeah. And I get to do it. Mm-hmm. And I get up excited every single day to do that because I'm doing the very thing I was made to do.
I couldn't agree more. Like it's fueled by so much more. Like the steps that we take or the things that we do or the things we pursue, even this podcast on a Saturday, right? It's like, why do you do the things you do? And it's because it's fueled by so much more. Like I think there's a greater calling. Like, aren't you tired? Aren't you this? Isn't like there's better ways to spend a Saturday in terms of a lot of folks think it's sitting back and doing what you want to do or whatever that is. But I think it's seeing that calling. And one thing I was going to circle back to, you said, it's funny how you don't get fired. I don't know that that's true for me. I don't know that I've ever been fired, but I do think what happens is the people that become the people that's meant to be your circle stick. Like, I think there's folks that along the way, clients along the way that it wasn't the right mesh. It's that project, and then it's not the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth project, right? And then there's one that finds you on accident, and it's the first project, and they don't know your name or whatever, and you get started. But then they realize, like, you're my person, and we're moving, and you're on project number 35 with them.
That would be me.
So I think it's not that you get, like, in some ways you get fired by those people, not really like directly fired, but they don't continue on with you. Yeah. And you're not doing it the way they want to do things. You're not moving the way they want to move. So then now you start to create a world that you move with people that you are moving in likeness. And that's why you can run so much further, because you have two of you running in the same direction or pushing the same way, and 3 of you doing it. Now 20 of you doing it, right? So you got the whole team running. How much more stronger, and we're not crisscrossing. We're running in the same direction with the same value, with the same core. That's the part to me I love about being an entrepreneur, is because you get to create that. You get to create that world, and not worry about, well, we got to make our numbers, and at the end of but believe it or not, you soar through past the numbers. By not looking at by not looking at the numbers.
You have to think about all those things. You do. But the reality is that is so true in life. You find the things and the people. Yes. And those are your people.
Those are your people.
And development is so much that way. You get those people in the room and it is magic. You solve any problem, because our whole business is solving massive problems.
For sure. But also providing the answer.
Yeah.
We bring answers, but it brings problems. Yeah. Right? The answer has problems. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to what I was going to ask you. Okay, so your mom's passing. That was a defining moment for you. Can you share what happened in her final days and how that shaped you and moved you forward?
Absolutely. Because I had such a profound conversion experience, it was weird for my family. Like
they were not part.
No, they didn't know what to do with me because they were all proud of the fact that, hey, you're on the cover of Autoweek, you're doing this, you're doing that, and then all of a sudden here I am going,
what are you doing?
Hey, I'm really serious about the Bible and about Jesus. And they're like, we're serious about staying away from you. So I didn't have a great relationship with my mom from then on. And by then I was off. We were in the Midwest. That's where I was doing the software company. That's where I was doing the manufacturing company. And I was away from home when Mom was diagnosed with cancer. She was actually diagnosed with cancer in April, and she passed in June. So I got the word maybe about the 14th of April. I got a flight the next day. I met with the doctors, and it was, it was terminal. They're like, she just doesn't have much time. And so I said to her, Mom, I'm sorry that we haven't been closer, and I'm sorry that I have done such a bad job telling you what it is that's made such a huge difference in my life. I wonder if we could spend time going through the Bible as you're working your way through this sickness. And we'll pray that God will heal you, but also it was bad. When they finally found it, the cancer was everywhere. So there really was no turning it back. She was a lifelong smoker, and so there was no turning it back. So we started to study. I'd fly out and we'd study the Bible together. We were working through the Gospel of John. We got all the way to John chapter 14. Jesus says, I go to prepare a place for you. And I said, Mom, do you know that there's a place for you? And she said, I do. Like there had been a transition through all that time. And she lost the ability to speak like the next day. And she passed about 7 days later. And so I was crushed. I lost my mom. And but God had used that as an opportunity to do something that hadn't happened in any other way. So I was incredibly grateful for that, and then said to my wife, because we were living in the Midwest at the time, running a company there, we got to move home. Home is Arizona. My family's been here since 1856, so my dad and her mom and dad were here, and I just said, those are our people. So what are you going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do, but we got to get home. So I went to the board, gave him my resignation, and we started making the path to move home. We did move home, and I was approached by a friend who was a professional athlete who asked me to manage his career because I had helped him on some things. And so I started managing his endorsements and marketing plans and all those things. And that got me back here. And once again, didn't know how it was going to work out, but it all worked out. And that started me down the road back to development with my dad, which brought me to today.
Right. First of all, the story you share about your mom, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And that couldn't come at a more really amazing end, and how you tell that story. That's just amazing. I think that's also courage. Sharing faith is not always easy.
It's not easy.
And usually the folks closest is the hardest.
100%.
It's easier to walk up to someone you don't know on a street. So I love how...
Especially to walk up to someone you don't know, because there's no loss.
Yeah,
I can say this to you, and
he
then I'm going to
go.
He
thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah,
who cares?
And yet when
he might yell at you. Who cares?
and I think business is the same way.
Yeah.
Because it's this... But what I've found is my partners, vintage partners, we don't wear it on our sleeve. We don't chase people around. But when people get into trouble, they call us, and because they know. Yeah. So there's always those opportunities, because like when you're genuinely, your yes is your yes, you're a person of integrity, you take care of people, you care for people, you ask them, you pray for them, they know where to go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with my family, it was, one time I was driving with my brother after I was saved, and I was saying this, and he's like, I'm going to stop this car. We're in the middle of Central Avenue. He's like, I'm going to stop this car, and I'm going to throw the keys, and I'm going to leave you right in this car. Because he didn't want to hear.
Oh.
He didn't want to hear. And I was like, I'm sure I was obnoxious. I'm sure I was an idiot. And so I totally understand now. At the time, like so many things, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
How we learn.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
So, okay. So now coming out of all of this, you got back into, but you said before we get into how you got into development where you are today at 50 years old.
Yeah.
Life's going great.
Yeah. Everything's
rocking, except you get fired.
I do. I was doing development with my dad. Then he decided, he was done. So I was buying and selling stuff. I got involved with an amazing man, Harold Christ, who had developed Gold Canyon.
That's beautiful.
So we started to work on stuff together, and then, and had a great run. And then in 2005 or 2006, we built a nursery. We were building a barn to be our corporate headquarters, and everything went south in the crash. And so I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I went to work for a family office and to manage their real estate portfolio, which I did and did a good job. Thought I did a good job. You're thinking it's going great.
Yeah.
Look what a great job I'm doing. We were doing a marketplace ministry thing, and I came back from a trip, and they're like, yeah, we don't need you. And I'm 50 years old, and I'm like, no, time out. I'm 50. What am I going to do? And then I met with a buddy who was a headhunter, one of the best headhunters in the country, and he listened for a while, and he's like, well, you're unemployable. I'm like, what do you mean I'm unemployable? He goes, you can't work for someone else. You have to do your own thing. You got to start your own thing. You're unemployable. And I was like, I was devastated. Like, what am I going to do now? Well, that led to a partnership with my partner now, Mark Ortman, his dad, David Scholl. David brought a couple of guys in, and we started Vintage Partners, and here we are.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
failure to redemption.
Yeah.
And especially firing at 50.
That's tough.
I have a huge heart when I'll call if I hear somebody lost their job or whatever, and I know I'll call. I always will call, because I'm like, first of all, it's the hardest thing I think a man goes through, and then in a later age is terrifying.
Sure.
Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it forced me to go back to what I was made to do, which was build my own thing. And I had 5 great partners to start with, and great partners today. Mark Ortman, Axel Anderson, and Mark's dad still around. Our other guys have retired. But yeah, I got fired.
Do you think it's, and even for what I've done, Lokahi started at 46, right? It's past the point, like there's these rules of thumb of when you start your business and when you shouldn't. And the engineering world might be different than all other types of worlds. But like they tend to say, like in your mid 30s, you should be doing this, maybe by your young 40s. So that has all these rules. So that you can build it up and then sell it and the timeline. And then so you can retire, blah, blah, blah.
Somebody else's
whatever,
rules.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But you knew them, and they're passed down everywhere. Like everyone knows them, right? Once you're in the industry, you kind of know these roles that are out there. And so being 46, 45, 46 was too old to start the business.
Yeah.
And I did it anyway with kids in college, with college tuitions and, finances. And so at that point in time, you don't necessarily have time. When you start something when you're 20, you have time on your side, right? You can screw it up. You can, what happens financially, you can still piece it together. But
it always feels like that.
Yeah. But then when you're like, right, I'm in my mid, right, 40s, it's like there's not time on your side or as much time on your side. You don't have 30 years on your side to build this business or whatever. So, but,
And then you hit COVID.
Yeah, then we hit COVID. Months later,
so
we hit COVID.
So did you feel like, you know what, I was too old to do this when COVID hit?
I honestly never, ever felt like I've done the wrong thing, ever, in it.
That's so powerful.
Never, yeah. And I've gone through a lot in it. And even still today, there's so many lessons I'm learning as a business owner. Because certainly at this point in time, the easiest part of my job is being an engineer. Because I've been doing that for 20 plus years. So it's like, I studied it. And I was 5 years studying an engineer, right? Studying it, then now being it. I was a junior, a senior, a principal, blah, blah, blah. I know how to do the engineering. That's the easy part of my job. The harder part is the business, the people, clients, just all of that other things, the economy, what happens, how to manage that, how much you say, like all those other things are the harder components. And that really grows me. So I would say in terms of some of those things, I'm young. I'm very young in my career, right? It's the stuff I'm 2 years into it or 5 years into it. You know, I'm just did my first one or whatever. So those are the places that you continually stretch and grow, but never do I feel like it was the wrong move. In fact, I would say it is the right move. And I would say to everyone out there, I hope their journey starts young. For those that get to start that journey younger, good for them. I wasn't ready. I had to have walked through all the things I've walked through to have been ready. Because people say, don't you wish you had started earlier? The sequence of events, the things I had to learn, the things I had to walk through, I wasn't ready till that moment in time. I don't know.
That is such a good point because I don't think I was ready because I was still prone to being arrogant. And so when I was younger, I was like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do. Even though I had the faith component, even though I had all those things, there was still that besetting thing of, why do you keep doing this? My wife's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You think you would have learned by now. But when you get to be 50 and you really have to stop and go, what am I going to do now? There's a level of dependence and there's a level of, I got one swing at this. Like, we got to get this right.
But at the same time, you've learned a lot, right? Like you've kind of learned enough to know this doesn't work, this works, I don't like this, I do like this. And then so it's kind of taking all those years and you couldn't just get that in, I didn't get it in a mishmash of 3 years. And at 28, I had all this like things. I had to walk through some hard things. Leadership I didn't like, scenarios I didn't like. I had to get through them. And then I think I don't know, I'm still a work in progress, but certainly that helps me to manage what I still feel are harder things for me today. If I didn't have those things, I don't think I could even walk through them.
Well, I think it's that failure redemption thing for us because
for sure.
we get to see our weaknesses and push into dependence and then go forward in faith. Like, hey, I'm on an adventure. And I feel like sometimes being 64, I'm like, I've had it. Development's hard. People are mean.
Any given week there, you can find me in that moment. There is that moment.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm done with these people. I do all this good stuff and you hate me all the time. I'm done with you people.
There's a moment every week.
And yet when I have time to stop and really evaluate, I am just as excited. I don't have the same capacity.
Yes.
I just don't. Yes. Let's just be honest. I don't have the same capacity I had.
No, I agree.
When I was your age.
No, I don't know.
but I still have some game. There's still some gas in the tank, and that's exciting to go. And I would just say to people, the guy who said to me, "You're unemployable," 10 years later, we're sitting at the hotel that we built, Rise Hotel, where we took 2 mid-century office buildings that were going to get torn down and apartments were going to be built. We preserved them, converted them to a boutique hotel, and opened this beautiful space. And I was there one day having lunch with him. And I said, do you remember 10 years, 12 years ago when you said to me, I was unemployable? He's like, I don't remember that, but yeah, I could hear myself saying that. I'm like, welcome to my hotel.
Yeah.
To be able to say, thank you for saying that to me.
Yeah.
Because this doesn't get done if I am still going down a road trying to make people happy and work for people.
Yes.
It only happens if I'm pushed out on this adventure of trust and walking with God. And you help me do that.
That's right.
He was like, okay.
The power of people's words is so true. There's definitely, I can look back and see that there's folks who did that. But I also think I look back at things and like in your story, if you look back, if you didn't get fired, vintage project would not exist, right? There's no way it exists, right?
Yeah.
I look back at moments that were really hard and hard hits, and it usually is right before greatness happens. But it's like hard hits.
Yeah.
Like I look back and I think, man, it's so crazy how without getting fired, without that moment of getting fired and that bad thing had to happen, because if not, you wouldn't have sat there in that job and then like think, you know what, maybe I should start Vintage Partners.
No, because I would have gotten older and I would have been looking at the world a completely different way.
And it never happens.
Instead of, well, now you got to look at it in a way where you don't have money. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And there's that sense, that's where the entrepreneur is at his best. Like, this didn't work, that didn't work, that's broken. You don't have this, you don't have that. You maxed your credit cards out. You did this, you did that, you did this.
Game on.
And it's time to go. Yeah.
It's game on, and
Yeah.
we're running, and
Yep.
we're running hard.
Yep. And then you're so busy with what's right in front of you, you don't have an opportunity to think about
I
all
got
the
fired.
noise. You're just like, I'm
That's
doing
right.
this, and we got to get this done.
That's right. You can't lay in bed and be like, I got fired. I'm so sad. I got fired. You're
Yeah.
like, I got to do this.
Well,
I
you
gotta go
can,
on.
but it better not last very long.
It can't last too long.
Because you're not
you gotta
going
move
anywhere.
on. It's
Yeah.
so true. Okay, so now I would love to, as we're kind of wrapping up, you have, so the other side of you, married, kids, you have 12, almost 13, right? Grandkids.
Yeah.
And so you say your next dream is to be fully sustainable off-grid homestead.
Yep.
So all this, what drives you in this season now?
Learning, an insatiable curiosity where, especially in areas where I know nothing. So the whole homestead thing, I don't know anything. Now, I know construction, I know grading, I know the engineering, I know steel, so it's a big steel building. I know design, but I don't know growing food. I don't know chickens. I don't know driving a tractor. I don't know irrigation. Oh, I have stories with irrigation.
But you're doing that.
But I'm doing it. And there is a vibrance that goes with not being capable. And there's also a fun that's like, well, of course that's going to go bad. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, I flooded everything, but I don't know what I'm doing. The other night, Carol and I were sitting there. We're finishing the backyard. And so there's a pool and there's this rock climbing structure that's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, children are going to die on this. It's like, it's gone. It's a little overboard. And we're sitting there and we're listening to music. And I'm like, honey, it took 3 years to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful for every bit of it. And there were so many times in it where you weren't thankful. Like the site flooded and I'm out there trudging around in February, rain, freezing, dropping pumps down in footings so they can pour the cement to get the foundation done so they can start building the building. And all the while, we're not in our own home. We're actually living with Carol's mom because that's what she wanted to do. And she was incredibly gracious to let us do that. But that's hard.
Yes.
That's hard.
It's for anyone because you're in you're out of their rhythm, you're out of your rhythm.
And so we had to go through all that, but it's such a metaphor for life that if you stay on your feet and don't quit, what you get to see on the other side of the fight is sweet. And you don't get that without the fight. And you don't get that if you wave the surrender flag. And you don't get that when you give in to everybody around you and listen to all the noise of the world around you about what you can't do and this is that and you're this and you're that and we don't trust you and I don't want to hear the noise. I have a Savior who loves me. I have truth that can set me free and I have a whole world of opportunities to make a difference in. And we're making a difference. We're building affordable housing. We have the largest habitat for sale project in the United States in the middle of a master plan community. And I got the people in the master plan community to agree to do it. Instead of, no, not in my neighborhood. Oh, yes, we need affordable, but not here. Mm-hmm. So someone in a $2 million house said yes to a habitat house. I feel like we're just getting started.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you pursue life. We pursue life very similarly. Like even this through this podcast, like it's been like a couple of years that it's been in the works, and I've taken one step, and it's actually been harder to start this than the engineering company. Like that I did in less than a month. This has taken like 2 years to even be where it is, and it's not even out yet. And but it's things I've had to learn.
But you have a crack team.
That's
They're
right.
here to help.
It's so true.
They make it great.
Yes, but it's also been so much I had to learn. Like this is not what an engineer does. Talking, interviewing, photos, videos, learning how to do all of this
Engineers
stuff.
don't
know how to do that.
They're not a fun bunch.
No. And
you're fun.
I don't know. I'm in a work in progress. So it's been a process of going through all this. And even this last week, so I didn't even tell my employees that we're doing, like, it's totally a side thing that I'm doing separate of work, what we do at work. And then she's like, and I mentioned it for some reason. And she's like, I saw your schedule blocked out for Saturdays and stuff. And I go, I know. And I was kind of explaining what I'm doing. And she goes, you don't sound excited at all. And I go, I am excited, but it's such a process because it's also very difficult. I love learning, but every single part of it is such a stretch, and it's so uncomfortable. Every part of this is uncomfortable for me. So, but I think until you do the uncomfortable side, you can't sit there 3 years later, right? In the what you're doing.
And I think there's those moments where you got to stop and go, okay, this is really hard, but look at our creative space. We did that.
Yeah.
And this is really hard, but we made it through COVID.
Yes.
Look at that. And to me, that's that whole idea of building memorials throughout your life, where when you're at that moment and you're not seeing anything good, you got to go, yeah, but remember what happened here. Remember what God did here. Remember what he did here. And that's how we sustain. And you get to the other side. I mean, there's a reason they call it the promised land, because you don't have it. And you're going there, and it's that sense of knowing it's there that gets you there.
I love it. So true. I love it. Okay, so in wrapping this up, my final question for you. Someone listening out there may feel like they've failed, right? Life's not going their way, or that they've gone far too far off, or they're too old. Time has passed. What do you say to that listener?
Well, I would say you're watching this podcast, so you've heard two stories that it wasn't too late. You weren't too old. But I would say to you the same thing that I say to men all the time, which is when they're trying to figure out direction in their life, what does it profit a man when he gains the world and loses his soul? Your problem, if you don't know where you're going, is not a stuff problem. Everything you've ever gotten didn't satisfy you, and you know that. Just admit it. But we won't. We get in these environments where all the noise is out there. If you just got this, you'd get the bigger house. It doesn't work. And talk to the people who have it, because it's never enough. Why? Because you were built for more. And I would simply tell you, you can find that more in the person of Jesus, in his word, and that's what you were ultimately built for. Then, now that you know, I would say it this way, if you're ready to die, you're ready to live. It sounds kind of morbid, but it's not morbid. If I know why I'm here and where I'm going, how are you going to stop me?
True.
Well, we'll stop you. I don't care. I know where I'm going.
Yes.
Well, we'll take this away from you. I don't care. I know where I'm going. There's an incredibly powerful thing that happens when you understand who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. Because you cannot be impacted by all the noise. You don't need the noise. I got a compass in my hand. You could beat the tar out of me, but I'm just going to keep looking at it. The Bible says they were searching for a city whose builder and maker is God. That's me. I'm building stuff. I'm doing stuff, practical, solving, doing stuff. But I understand there's something bigger and something better. And I hope that energy and that joy and that faithfulness influences and impacts other people to know that's not the end of your story. Your story could be so much more.
I love it. What a great way to wrap up. So thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And I'm so grateful to know you this last year. I look forward to the years ahead. I feel like there's so much more we will get to know about one another. And to the listeners who don't get to be your friend, Sucks for them, but lucky me. But at least they have this podcast.
Well, I said it at the beginning and I'll say at the end. It's an honor to be here. And I'm honored that you took the risk to do this because we don't know what the impact is going to be. Maybe nobody watches it, but my guess is somebody will, and your podcast will help people.
That's the goal.
And it's an honor to be here with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That is the goal. The goal is I feel like I live a dream, and I think you live a dream. My goal is I think I see so much folks like you pointed out that are drudging through life and not living a dream that I feel like I want to share the secrets.
Yeah.
And so this is my way of trying to share the secrets. Mahalo to our listeners for joining us today. Until next time, remember to lean into who you are created to be. Your journey is uniquely yours, and the world needs you.